Interesting events where you had the new Attorney General Pam Bondi, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of days ago confirmed that files related to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are to be released. However, there's been some delays, a lot of serious questions that have sparked from some of the Republican politicians. Epstein, who died, what was it, 6 years ago, actually, while awaiting trial. He had a lot of connections to power figures we know, and many believe the client list in question could implicate some of the high-profile individuals. So there's delays. You'd love to get transparency throughout, but let's see if we can dissect it even further, bringing in Seamus Bruner, Associate Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute, also best-selling author. Controligarchs, exposing the billionaire class, their secret deals, and the globalist plot to dominate your life. Nice enough to give us a couple here on the island. Seamus, welcome aboard. There's a lot of questions here regarding Pam Bondi. She was asked about the release during CPAC last week in the conference, and basically said that she had been briefed on the matter, unable to discuss it publicly, though confirming that Trump's directive would be followed. It's kind of a tale of two cities here, Seamus. How do you break it down?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. Great to be with you. The Epstein saga has been just a nightmare of no transparency. Everybody wants to know who are the clients. You can't traffic children to nobody. And I know where the client list would be. It would be certainly with the DOJ, but there's other government agencies that have it too. The Treasury Department has it because J.P. Morgan was Epstein's bank, and they were sued by his victims, and they settled out of court. They wanted to avoid going to trial, and they paid out a $365 million settlement. And those files, those court records, were released last year and the year before. Buried in those records, J.P. Morgan admits to facilitating over $1 billion in payments to Jeffrey Epstein's account that they say was related to human trafficking. And so just as you can't traffic children to nobody, you can't receive money from nobody. And so J.P. Morgan knew every payment where it came from. That's how banking works. The wire has a to field on it, who it came from. And so J.P. Morgan admitted that they gave those records to Treasury. So I would urge Attorney General Bondi to follow the money. A lot of people talk about a client list, like, he kept a list, and then you just read up the names off the list, and there you have it. And people conflate the flight logs with the list. You got to be very careful. You can't just assume that everybody who flew on the jet was engaged in sex with underage minors. So the payments are really the key here. That is what you need to focus on, the payments to Epstein.
Yeah, it's the money. You got to follow the money. You're 100% right. These so-called client lists, kind of a misnomer in a sense. You could be in three places here, right? You got the FBI, DOJ. They're having trouble locating the darn things. J.P. Morgan, as you mentioned, when victims sued Epstein's bank, they settled, right? What was it, $365 million or so, give or take? Thus acknowledging Seamus, that they facilitated payments from Epstein's clients. And the third rung on the ladder is the Treasury Department. Payments to his account would have been tracked by J.P. Morgan and passed to the Treasury, thus making these accessible to authorities. So, you've got a kind of a three-pronged deal going on, but really it all comes down to the common denominator, the almighty dollar.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, it's crazy that Ghislaine Maxwell, the madam, Jeffrey Epstein's associate, is sitting in prison right now for crimes of trafficking children, but there's not a single person who has been arrested for paying for those trafficked children. So that's an outrage. And it's actually about to get even more spicy this month. James Staley, he was the J.P. Morgan executive. He moved on to Barclays. But it's past reporting, but you looking through, and I actually wouldn't encourage people to do it because it's really gruesome stuff. The emails between James Staley, who was at J.P. Morgan and was the relationship manager on the Epstein account. Between him and Epstein, he went to the island. He used Disney character references about what a great time he had. It's stuff. He's got another suit, so he's in hot water right now. There will be more records released on that. But yeah, keep an eye on James Staley.
Seamus, what about some of these other things? How does this correlate with other things that are certainly, from what we were told, were to be made public? Talking about the JFK files, the MLK files. And for that matter, I'll throw in another thing that hasn't really been discussed, as far as, where we are at with the little green men from outer space. What do we know about that? Yeah. We've heard whistleblowers and everything else. What about those three other components, all regarding transparency?
Yeah, I mean, the intelligence community is extremely powerful. That much is certain. They have interfered in the last three presidential elections. They were almost successful in 2016. I think they underestimated the support Donald Trump had. But they interfered in the 2020 election and the 2024 election. They call it the deep state because these people, there are a lot of them. It's not just 100 here and 100 there. There are thousands of members in the so-called deep state that need to be rooted out and removed and have their security clearances revoked. So I'm very encouraged by the moves that the Donald Trump administration has made. Tulsi Gabbard Tulsi Gabbard just yanked 100 more security clearances. You need to get these guys out because they are undermining and the cause for transparency. But I agree with you. I can't wait to see JFK files, MLK files, and find out what's going on with these UFOs, or I guess they call them UAPs now. So the more we can find out, the better. Sunlight is always the best disinfectant.
I think, the overall thing is that Donald Trump knows there are some answers to these questions. And his responsibility, his mindset is to be very clear to the American people. I mean, that's his agenda from day one since winning November the 5th. It is all for the American people. And he feels the obligation to disclose as far as a lot of this information. I'm just wondering what Pam Bondi heard to make her kind of take a step backwards here, even though acknowledging advancing Trump's agenda is key here. Just wondering the cause of all this stuff.
Yeah, well, and yesterday or maybe the day before, a whistleblower came forward from the FBI and said that FBI agents are deleting Epstein files, so they're trying to scrub it. She needs to get it out ASAP.
No question.
Understand, before more sabotage is done by the agency. I mean, it's going to take. They can't just overnight clean out the FBI. I appreciate you plugging Controligarchs. I wrote a book before that called Compromised, How Money and Politics Drive FBI Corruption. I mean, top to bottom, there are many, many great agents. I'm not disparaging the entire agency, but it's a lot more than just James Comey and his lackeys that were running interference at the FBI. So she needs to get the files out. Understandably, these are among the most powerful individuals in the world. Bill Gates is on this list, of people who are very closely associated. Epstein did blackmail Bill Gates. That's been known now. Whether the girl that Gates was with was underage or not, that's not clear. But even Bill Gates' wife said that the Epstein relationship was why they were getting a divorce. But you got royal families, you got former President Clinton, so you got to get it right. I understand, but they've had years, so I can't give them too much. They've had a long time to get the guilty people onto a single list and start making arrests.
No question. I mean, Kash Patel's nameplate has pretty much just been authorized. Let's throw Dan Bongino in as well. But down the road, they're no-nonsense guys, Seamus, and they're going to make sure that things are facilitated in the right direction. That's for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. I know Kash and Attorney General Bondi as well. They are great Americans, and also the thing that I'm really encouraged by with the Trump administration here is they take feedback from the people. This is not insiders club anymore. So there are all kinds of citizen journalists out there, people who have got great relationships with Trump administration officials who are sending vetted information, stuff that has been proven. And it's really a populist, a grassroots movement here sending the information up. So it's good to see.
No doubt about it. Seamus Bruner, well done, Associate Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. Let's not forget best-selling author. Controligarchs exposing the billionaire class, their secret deals, and the globalist plot. And that, too, dominates your life. Fascinating. We'll see what happens, Seamus, and get you back on. Can't thank you enough.
Thanks, Jay.